Joining me this week, Jason Reed, UK lead at Young Voices. Also, broadcaster and columnist Dawn Neesom and Connor Tomlinson. He's a political commentator. Welcome to you. You are indeed watching our look through the papers. This is Between the Sheets. So, welcome to Between the Sheets. Of course, we normally look inside the papers, but what a gift! Oh my God, the front page of today's Sun. This is where we must start, because it's not just the outside of the paper, where little Miss Forgetful is perhaps profiled a little bit. She's in the papers, every single one of them. Broadsheets, tabloids, you name it. Meghan, I don't like publicity, Markle. She's everywhere.
She must be so stressed out by this. All this publicity. This is the ongoing court battle between her and the Mail Group newspapers, where she is suing for breach of privacy, isn't it? And mainly over the letter that she sent to her dad that was published, and she didn't think it would be published.
Oh, no, because she definitely said here yesterday she apologised to the court for not telling a judge about emails showing her attempts to influence a biography, and then also some of the discussion about, well, you know, I always used to call him Daddy, and if it does get leaked, which it might do, which rather indicates that she kind of, before it was sent, she kind of knew that
she sort of hoped it was getting leaked.
Are we talking about Harry or her dad, just to clarify for a minute here?
Wow.
So many unfortunate men in her life, really,
yes.
aren't there?
There are. But, I mean, look, Little Miss Forgetful. I mean, what a headline. You certainly don't want to... Dear Daddy is, you know, ex-aide disputes Duchess's claims about the private note. Then we've got discussions also in the inside of today's Sun, which then splashes on Meg on her face. I mean, I'm sort of... Which is the better headline?
A Little Miss Forgetful is great, and it's a classic tabloid front page today on The Sun, so well done, The Sun. But, I mean, it's like this whole sort of like, you know, forgetful thing, right, OK? It's like forgetting where you leave your keys is, you know, we've all done that. That's acceptable.
Entire book?
Forgetting you took part in putting together an entire book?
Poor old Meghan. We've all done it, haven't we? We've all commissioned a sycophantic biography and then forgot we did that and then lied about it in court.
You might, but then hang on a second.
Allegedly.
Yeah, but then hang on. The thing is that people will now accuse us and say, you're just piling in on her. And Harry, he said that Megxit is just a misogynistic term. We've been told that because we're picking up on her and her behaviour, that we're racist. This is an appalling... Megxit, if Megxit is misogynistic, then I don't know... I don't even know where to go with this, because Harry is just deluded. He's in his own little echo chamber. And I do, in some senses, feel sorry for them that this has all happened. And it's so messy. And look, to have this level of scrutiny must be awful. But...
She voluntarily joined the royal family. The public had no objections to her marrying Harry. Their wedding had plenty of views.
We were there. I covered the wedding. It was gorgeous. Everyone was so happy.
Oh, well, when you were there, I don't think everyone was so happy. But
not as a guest, obviously, as a journalist.
Yes.
But, I mean, it was... And then she just turned out to the psycho bride from hell. Where is this
coming from? But do you think, though, that it started before? Because there was this discussion about what Meghan wants, Meghan gets. And then there's now... There appears to be some truth in that.
Well, I really do think this has to be the end for her. I just think, you know, we all sort of, you know, the Oprah Winfrey hideous PR stunt where she may have told a few porkies in that one as well. And now this has to be the final straw,
one
surely.
would hope, but then she's going to come back like a bad-smelling boomerang with the Netflix deal.
Exactly, addicted to the publicity, deals with Netflix, deals with Spotify. She's writing...
But are they her deals or his deals?
I think they're probably hers.
Well, he's standing behind her at every available opportunity, because he looks like essentially he has his testicles in her purse. So I don't think he's the one leading this relationship.
Yeah. Well,
but then if she is, or if calling it Megxit is misogynistic,
it isn't.
Is this then our opportunity to say, no, it was premeditated, that Megxit is premeditated as a... We have to get out of this, and we just are going to do everything possible to make sure that we extricate ourselves, combined with the fact that, of course, look at the coverage. We're fascinated by this. It's not going away. This is the story that keeps on giving.
What annoys me, though, right, there are genuine victims in this world, but they have the ultimate victim complex, don't they? You know, never have a pair of privileged, pampered, multimillionaires been so persecuted.
I've met a lot of girlfriends' parents that didn't like me, and I've never made this much money whining and making off into
there's your golden opportunity.
It is a golden opportunity. Duchess apologises to court after new evidence from William's aid. I can only imagine, though, that the relationship between William and his team and Harry and his team must be dynamite. It's not good,
it is a mess, and it's not going to go away any time soon. But this whole misogyny and racism, I mean, you dare criticise anything, legitimately criticise anything either of these two do, and they instantly play the victim card, whether it's race or misogyny. It is neither. This is actually, on a serious note, misleading a court, whether she did it intentionally or not, and she's claiming she didn't. It slipped her mind, as writing a book does, obviously. It slipped her mind. So she is claiming, and let's not forget, this is not perjury, because to forget isn't perjury. Deliberately lying is perjury.
OK. So she has been accused of this. Jason, the Duchess says, "I'm sorry, I forgot." Would you accept her apology?
Not at all. There's no excuse for what she's doing here. She's publicity hungry. Harry had his problems, but he never had problems of this kind before she came along. She's an insult to the Queen. She's an insult to Britain. She's a disgrace, and we need to stop paying so much attention to her.
But then the Americans love her.
They do, and she can go over
and the Americans don't particularly love the monarchy other than the celebrity value of it. I mean, they've got their sort of Hollywoodizing of this, and they've made a narrative
out of it. They're the ones who are bankrolling them. They're the ones who are happy to, they
still
love
want
the
royal money.
I mean, does this, if it turns out that she has forgotten or that her account of what happened is wrong, does it mean that that is the final nail on the head and we must have the royal titles removed?
I think so. I do think so. I think now...
So they should just be plain Harry and Meghan.
Let's not forget, they left this country because of the racist, horrible institution of the royal family, and thereby the implication that the whole family was a racist, the whole country was a racist.
But we're doing everything that Harry said was wrong. So we're in the media, we're having comments, we're having discussion, and we are having another go at them. Are we just falling for this narrative?
It's not about her race, it's about her actions and her character. And if it was about her race, we'd be criticising some vacant, superficial aspect of her personality. Instead, we're saying she is unbecoming of the princess she signed up to be.
OK, so are we saying...
Nothing to do with her race.
OK, so she's unbecoming of the princess that she signed up to be. He is undermining or using the title that he was born with in order to make money.
Yes.
Who's worse?
They're demanding the best of both worlds, aren't they? They want all the freedom to do all the publicity and all the books and all the Spotify and Netflix deals, and at the same time they want to keep their royal titles, they want to keep money coming in from the royal purse.
And they want to keep privacy.
Exactly. To be honest with you, I think...
Who's worse? Come on.
I think Meghan is worse on this one, because she... she was the one sort of like, they asked me about what colour my baby was, they're racist. Which one? Oh, no, I can't possibly say. But then she goes on to use the title constantly, that hideous kids' book.
It's the Duchess of Sussex here. Would you like to change your policy?
Exactly.
Mr. Senator?
And the book she can remember writing, that hideous kids' book called The Plank or The Tree or The Bench or whatever it was. It's like, Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex. She can't write to anyone or do anything without using her title.
I will contest that and say Harry's weakness is so repugnant, giving up your guns for hunting, going down from the party prince that he used to be, down to this sort of weak beta male cowering behind his wife.
Yeah, but you can't be a party prince forever. It's unbecoming. Look what happened to his uncle.
Yeah, OK, yes, fair point, all right. But partying with people within your age remit is totally fine. Partying with people like Jeffrey Epstein, let's just say he should also have his royal title removed as well.
I think just a little bit short of, let's just say, common sense. Is it because I can't imagine... Look, none of us can imagine what it's like to grow up in that. But if you grow up in an environment in which you are never exposed really to people who tell you what they think, you are never really exposed. I mean, the only way that you see it is through the press. And then you live through this sort of strange myopic where all sorts of things are going on. If that's the case, is he never going to be able to have any grip of reality?
I don't think so, because if you look at his brother, I mean, he's had the same sort of service record. He makes the same sort of royal outreach. William and Kate are very well respected. They make rounds of the people, and loads more people would rather see him instantly step to the throne than Charles, who's
or
very
are they just
involved.
better at hiding the truth? Because there are some quite fruity stories about William too, if you want them.
Really?
Yes, not that we can go into detail here, obviously.
Allegedly.
Hello, lawyers.
I don't know. Always fruity stories.
There are very fruity stories about that. But this is not a battle. It's not a comparison.
Let's move on. We've done enough Harry and Meghan bashing. Maybe Piers Morgan was right. Now, let's talk a little bit about unvaccinated people. They feature quite heavily in many of the newspapers. Dawn.
Yes, they do. It's covered in all the newspapers again. Obviously, it's the ongoing saga of people who work in care homes and NHS frontline workers being forced to be vaccinated.
Should they be?
No, I don't think anybody
Should they be persuaded?
I think being persuaded and being educated is completely different to being forced to have any form of medical procedure.
Okay. If you had an elderly relative, they were in a home, would you feel comfortable that somebody is coming in, going out, doing whatever, and then not being vaccinated?
Oh, when are you going to the home?
No, you.
Sorry. Would I? Well, look, what I would suggest is with this one, why are we not testing people for antibodies? Surely that would prove that they are as safe, if not more safe. We know.
Okay, if somebody hasn't got the antibodies,
yes,
and they're not vaccinated, should they be forced to do so?
I think I'm not sure I would want them working on the front line with vulnerable people.
Okay.
I don't want anybody being forced in to take any
vaccine. But you want consistency. Jason.
I want consistency.
I'm concerned with civil liberties, our most basic freedoms. We're in such a late point in the pandemic where the vaccine rollout is complete, the booster jab...
Complete.
It's as complete as it's ever going to be.
It's
We're never going to make progress
that's
beyond
the
this
point. It hasn't been completed yet, and you have frontline health workers who, for whatever reason, I mean, I would say, I would agree with Dawn and say, I don't want anybody to be forced to take the vaccine. I think that the data that the government have put out recently has been really misleading and poor. The messaging has been fairly dreadful, and we're still in Project Fear. We've now moved on, I think, to coping with a virus, living with a virus.
But it's never going to go away, by the way.
That's never going to go away. So we've now got to work with it. But people are still getting it in the same way that I think that people will get quite a lot of flu and colds and all sorts of things over the winter. And I think some of our behaviours, I would much rather see a change in the way that we behave. So, for example, if you have the schnuffles and you think you're getting flu or a cold, stay away from work until you're a bit better.
If you can afford
That's
to.
just common sense.
Yes, but if you're in a job that you can work from home, if you can afford to. If you can't afford to, we'd probably be better off as a nation making sure that people can afford.
Vaccination doesn't prevent you from spreading it or catching it. But
it does reduce it.
It supposedly does, but I mean, the jury's still out on that in some cases.
The efficacy drops down over time because it goes over 6 months of Pfizer jab in Israel.
Yeah, but all of you are assuming that the vaccine doesn't do anything. We've had the data.
Getting vaccinated
It's very clear that the vaccine. It not only reduces your chances of certainly getting severe COVID, it also reduces your ability to be able to transmit it.
But not for that long, especially as well. So Johnson
Which is why you need to have the booster.
So we're going to have perpetual boosters forever and keep having taxpayer funds
fired
at the awful companies.
But then
like
we've had
Pfizer.
flu vaccine forever. So and then you start to get into a situation where you could start to make the judgment. I mean, and this is where information, I'm assuming, should be improved, which is at some point this has to stop being forced, and we have to move to a state where we are allowed to take the decisions. Would you like a COVID vaccine? Would you not like a COVID vaccine? You can choose. In the same way that I haven't had a flu vaccine till now, I might have one this year.
Which you can choose. By the way,
but I want it to be my choice.
Well, as a patient, you should have the choice not to be treated by an unvaccinated doctor, I think. But if you've got an unvaccinated patient and an unvaccinated doctor, and they're both happy with the situation, where's the need for the state to come in and say, no, this is not good enough?
But Nanny and her state really are getting very involved in all sorts of things.
We are lucky we're not French for lots of reasons, by the way. But the over 65s in France have been banned from restaurants, cafes and trains if they haven't had their booster jab.
Oh.
Now, I mean, how wrong is that? I mean, as if we haven't treated elderly people badly over the last 2 years.
If you go to Germany, there's a major problem because only 62% of the population have been vaccinated. There's another outbreak, and they're thinking they're going to have to cancel the Christmas markets.
No.
Yes.
I love a Christmas market.
Yeah, I bet you do.
No, I like a bauble.
And a
bet you do.
bratwurst.
Yeah, I love a cold.
You've
got to love
loved
a
a bit of
bratwurst.
sausage.
Yeah, but I mean, but Sajid Javid, when he was questioned on this over 65s not having a booster policy that they're doing in France, he actually said, well, you can't rule it out. And it's like, no, please rule it out. Because that is discrimination.
Why are our politicians now not ruling things like that out? In the sense that, is it because they got so used to having the power that they are no longer in our real world?
They'd love to reappropriate it for different particular reasons. Should it become convenient? Reminder, they haven't ruled out lockdowns. They haven't ruled out vaccine passports.
They haven't ruled out anything.
So it's very nice to have these COVID emergency powers and then just say, oh, well, emergencies come along. Conveniently, we just do everything we already wanted to do, like give contracts to our mates.
Yeah, and you know what? And then when everything goes wrong, they blame us.
Exactly.
Oh, your fault. You didn't do this help.
You didn't wear a mask.
Yeah,
COVID
exactly.
denier.
Yes.
So we've had a bit of a COVID
worst for that.
fest. Now, let's turn our attention to some other stories. Connor, let's talk a little bit about the front page of The Guardian, shall we?
Yes.
What's been going on?
We have to. So there's a gigantic photo of sycophantic socialist Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, congresswoman from New York, former bartender, so she's clearly cut out for the job, and her amazing stunt this week.
But look how much space is taken up there. Is it really news?
Not particularly, but The Guardian loves stumping for their favourite sort of socialists. She's an online celebrity.
As opposed to their favourite
influencer.
fascists.
Well, they're sisters, basically, at this point. Reminder, fascism actually came out of the Paris Commune, so they're actually very socialist.
That was very similar.
So, the idea that...
So what is the story?
Well, the
She
most
drank some
important
iron
thing
brew.
she did was go over to Scotland, take a photo of Nicola Sturgeon, drink some iron brew. This is the same woman who's proposed the Green New Deal in America, a massive socialist takeover of the economy, that says, we should pay people not to work word for word. So if this is the most important thing she did at the climate conference, it just shows how useless the world leaders were.
Well, here we
probably the
are.
most important thing any of them
this
did, to be
shows how
fair.
useless The Guardian is.
Unanimity.
Oh my God.
Lovely.
It's-
Synchronicity.
That's amazing
Oh,
performance.
lovely.
It's-
I wonder if we could turn that into an Olympic sport.
That
Synchronised
better be a
removal
GIF.
of Guardian. But there's nothing else in The Guardian, so we might as well not bother. Meanwhile, Jason, you've been looking at some other newspapers. Oh, the Cambridge Union. What a bunch of foolish individuals.
You know, you say that. I actually have a little bit of sympathy with the Cambridge Union because they ended up in this pickle, didn't they? Where they, first of all, they thought, let's hold an event on the topic of bad taste. What could possibly go wrong? Then one of the attendees gets drunk and does a Hitler impersonation. The president's there, too off his face himself to do anything about it. They find themselves on the receiving end of a torrent of criticism and abuse saying, this is unacceptable. So they panic and say, OK, we'll ban the guy. And then John Cleese, who was invited to the Cambridge Union, thinks, oh, OK, I'll cancel myself then before you can cancel me, which that's just self-aggrandizing.
No. This is because Alistair Graham Dixon, who's the guy who was banned, he did an impersonation of Hitler goose-stepping in order to tell a story. And John Cleese rightly said, back in Monty Python,
And
I
Fawlty
did,
Towers.
and also, and subsequently in
Mention
Fawlty Towers. So I'm going to cancel myself, and before you do. Brilliant. Well done, John Cleese. Stop cancelling people. This is history. If we don't continue to do this, if we don't continue to highlight those ghastly, awful people in Nazi Germany and what they did, and to remember that history, if we forget, lest we forget, at any time, why are we wearing poppies? Why are we doing this? It's because it's such an important part of our history. And I don't want to belittle any side of it, but if we're not able to look at those pieces of history and to say this is no longer acceptable, we are going to laugh at these things. We are going to use these things for satire and for history and for humour. Well done, John Cleese. Stop the cancelling.
No tyranny withstands mockery, and comedians are like the canaries in the coal mine for the first sort of thing of any kind of authoritarian incursion. It's like the Emperor's New Clothes. You get taught this in school, and it seems like a whole generation of kids have gone to university and forgot the wisdom of being unable to mock our elected leaders.
But also, they've forgotten the wisdom of being able to have people with different voices, different views, different opinions.
Yes,
and then
absolutely.
as soon as and this whole cancel culture thing. Oh well, you won't be invited if you come with these things. There are certain situations, though, where deplatforming is appropriate. That you have people who have such vile views. So, for example, off we trot to the LSE, and then they've invited. Within the papers, you've got a situation where the Israeli ambassador was invited to speak. Some people don't like her views. There was a hounding outside, some absolutely vile abuse, and people trying to shut down free speech. Now, if you don't like what she says, that's one thing. If you try and shut somebody down, it's utterly unacceptable.
But they were offering rewards for people to smash the car windows. That's not disagreeing with someone's opinion. That's violence.
But, to be fair, though, as if you ever expected, the account that did that was LSE Class War. They're a communist front group. So if you ever expected communists to be tolerable of each other's
page.
I don't think they're a troll page. I encountered a lot of Antifa action when I was at Kent and that. It's widespread across a lot of campuses. So I wouldn't be shocked if there are the kind of students out there that conflate speech with violence and are willing to do people serious harm.
But students have always been a radical hotbed.
They've always been.
Do we want to? You don't want to stop the students having this discussion, this debate. But what you do want to do is you want to demonstrate the difference between we live in a free speech nation. We want to make sure that people's voices are heard, and we also want to make sure that people are respected for who they are and what they do. And if you don't like them, don't go and see them.
Didn't the LSE also more than happy to host the Chinese representative? In China, they're currently busy murdering millions
They've
of
got
Muslims.
a Confucius Institute and everything. They're very tight with Chinese
so it's
money.
a bit hypocritical, isn't it? But it's like Oxford University the other week taking money from the Mosley family. Who founded the black shirts?
Yeah,
I mean,
actually,
it's
you know
like,
what, I disagree with
come
that,
on,
actually.
Any governance issue didn't
on.
understand that was a
the
problem.
optics are bad, but would you not rather, and especially because the son, it was Max Mosley who was doing the F1
Yeah, who
regulations.
inherited the money from
He didn't inherit the money,
Mosley.
but would you not rather it goes to a bunch of students who are, as we wanted to say,
No.
going to universities to fight against these exact kind of ideas, and ironically, there would be students from around the world, so they would be breaking up the fascist idea of race and
I
culture
think
being
the
the same
problem
thing.
is that the connectivity to that money and where it came from was too great.
Yeah, and at the same time, that university got offended by a picture of the Queen.
And
yeah, I
they're
don't
busy
think
taking
that's-
I mean,
down all
come
their-
on.
They're busy taking down all their, their statues of individuals who, for example, because apparently they're connected to slavery, despite the fact that many of those statues lead to, like Cecil Rhodes, who leads to the Cecil Rhodes Foundation and
Exactly.
Scholarship, which actually funds people from those disadvantaged backgrounds to come and study. So if you're going
Slavery
to take
from-
down those platforms and those
Yes.
those statues.
Slavery from 300 years ago, Nazis from, in living memory still.
But when is the cut-off point, though? Because if you start saying, OK, we can't...
Do you
we
not
can't
find that offensive?
What, taking the Mosley... To not to reappropriate it... OK, if the son does not agree with Mosley's views,
But
which
then
I
they
would
should-
hope he bloody doesn't...
They should not. That was a genocide. What happened in slavery was a genocide.
Yes.
Why is one right and one wrong? Why is anything
Because they're not putting
associated
up
with
a Mosley
slavery from
statue.
300 years ago different to objecting to the money?
Yeah, they're hypocrites. That's totally fine. But I'm saying don't tear down the statue. And also, if you want to take the money and put it to very good use and take out the hands of a fascist legacy, whether or not the son is a fascist or not, that is an improvement.
He was certainly a racist, didn't he? He did say that. Sort of,
I don't.
well,
I don't think you can justify that. I don't think
No, I
the money,
don't think
taking
you
the money is justifiable at all. Jason, would you take the money?
I don't think I'd personally take the money, but if it's an institution like Oxford, which provides education, provides services to so many people,
Yeah, but they should be.
educating the next generation is lovely.
Are you
no?
telling me that no charity should be looking at where its source of funds comes from?
We can look at it and be aware of it, be conscious of it for PR purposes.
Did
but
Max Mosley do something wrong specifically? Him?
There are many things.
yes.
Oh, okay,
Wait,
right,
how
okay.
long you got? How long's the show?
That's totally
Yeah.
fine then.
if that money doesn't go to
You should.
Oxford, it will go
Max
somewhere
Mosley's
else.
election leaflets from the 1961 called for all Jamaicans to be sent back and implied that people of colour, coloured people, I think he said, were responsible for all sorts of horrible diseases.
Okay.
That
I
is,
did not
that
know
is
that at
fairly
all.
wrong.
It is fairly
So
wrong.
the best thing you can
that
do
we-
is take the money and use it for good reasons.
No,
No.
sorry, you might as well become a lawyer. You might as well become Geoffrey Cox and just take the money. £5.5 million, or is it? Oh no! I found another copy of the Guardian.
Oh my
here.
God, it's got pink bits on it as well.
Pink bit. MP Cox has made at least £6 million. Well, who's right? Maybe the Guardian are just taking more money. Geoffrey Cox, just very quickly on him. He's taken all this money over however many years. Will he resign?
I don't think
Of course he
so.
won't. It's
Should
not
he
the
resign?
sort of-
His statement.
Cox
So
out, always
brash about
Cox
it.
out in my world.
Oh, God almighty.
Come on, you knew that was coming. Come on, boys. What do you
well,
expect?
that's
Come on.
Sorry, that's
Come on.
copy of the Sun.
Fair enough.
It's Guardian. Sorry, the Guardian here. That just needs tearing up.
See,
Jeffrey
you're
Cox. I
befuddled
think.
by
I'm
that,
sorry,
weren't
but
you?
his position is becoming indefensible. If he's still on the front pages and if it's still a story at the weekend, I think he's going to have to go. Because the thing is that his measure. I think it's 10,700 hours he's managed to clock up since he's been an MP. He's doing more work as a paid lawyer than he is an MP.
I'd be very annoyed if I was one of his constituents.
Yeah, I'd be furious.
You know,
Like, I
in a
don't
tax
have a
haven in the
problem. I mean,
Caribbean.
here's my solution to dealing with MPs'
That's raising
pay.
national insurance.
Yes. Sorry, we're interrupting the dad. Go on,
Just
Jason. Go
talking
on.
nonsense. So here's my solution to dealing with MPs and their pay, because I don't think we don't pay MPs enough if we want them to stop doing other things. But what you should do, over the last 3 years, what was your average salary? How much did you earn on an average basis? That is what we will pay you, which then means that you do, because there's no reason why, in no other sphere of life, is a 20-something paid the same as a 60 or 70-something for doing this same job. I'm sorry, it's nonsense.
You're meant to sacrifice the point of the noble institution.
not a
is
sacrifice.
It
Don't be
should
ridiculous.
be, though. That is the point and the principle of it. We shouldn't be turning.
It's not a
horse government
religious
into profit.
organisation. What are you talking about?
To disincentivise them exploiting taxpayers' money for
It's not
profit.
exploiting taxpayers'
Well, if
money.
you want to do that,
it's
give them
making sure that we get
bonuses for
people with
economic-
talent who are going in there. I mean, how can you justify paying a chief executive of a local town hall 250,000 or more pounds, and you can only pay an MP 82 grand?
Look, I'm sorry. The bottom line with this is, if you can't get by on 82 grand, you need your head seen
yeah,
to.
exactly.
That is true. Yeah.
It's not exactly.
I'm sorry,
it's not exactly minimum wage.
That's not the argument.
No,
No,
it's
it's
quite
not
a good
it's
argument,
not-
actually.
It is
It
actually
is a
very
good
good
argument.
argument.
It's not a good
Thank
argument.
you. Teams
Especially as they vote for tax on the working people to go up because of their terrible spending plan, and then the inflation goes up.
Yes,
because they
but
use
we've got all
quantitative
these
easing.
quangos where they're paying way more than that. So how could you justify paying an MP just 82 grand? Is it more difficult to be, the DG of the BBC and get 450 grand, or to be an MP at 82 grand?
Ridiculous as well, but two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah, and it's also a fair comparison.
Or do you want to be head of Channel 4, which is also a government-owned quango, and be paid 950,000?
I'd like to get paid for working here, but
Well, I think we can see why you're not. Anyway, let's talk about another story. You would like to talk now. You boys have been to COP26.
I haven't.
So Jason,
representing me.
Sorry, you've been going out to nightclubs, falling over, getting trashed.
It was a sporting accident. Sporting accident. He's on crutches.
You've had a sporting accident whilst listening to some nice popular music.
Going to the sport
You,
were doing at the time.
have been doing some work going to COP26.
Most of my visit was also going to nightclubs, in all fairness, because we did stay in Edinburgh. So yes, COP26.
So hang on, you and Biden.
Well, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near Biden, thank you very much. I don't think he'd come away in one piece. Yes, yeah. Either he's awake or I get a good sniff.
We Nicky Cranky and you out on the town, was it?
Thankfully not, funnily enough. Let's hope none of the photos of those nights out come out.
Okay, so you went for a week. What did you learn?
So we actually spoke to the MPs and a lot of the industry leaders. We got them in a big room and said, hey, how can we do like low tax sort of stuff?
Was it a COVID-spreading event?
No, I don't believe it was. Though, actually, I couldn't get into the Green Zone personally because I didn't have a vaccine passport. So I was barred from
everybody else from international...
they didn't need them. They didn't need passports or masks.
Were you able to get a view of any of the private jets coming in and going out?
No, I wasn't, unfortunately. I was in a very, not very nice hostel, and then we got 7 hours worth of train journey.
A hostel?
So, yes, yeah, because the
lovely.
accommodation
you know how to
was so
treat yourself.
Well, the accommodation was so expensive in Glasgow that it was completely inaccessible to anyone who wasn't a massive delegate. Just like the tap in and out cards. They got rail cards, but the people of Glasgow don't have that kind of infrastructure.
No,
so
that was
funny.
And they cancelled NHS operations
yes,
as well.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then they were going to have the bins pile up everywhere and all the bus drivers strike and they paid them.
So COP26 a real success and didn't use any energy at all. Meanwhile, we are now going to have to put up with a lot of hypocrisy, aren't we, about energy. Anybody who wastes anything in public. It's like, do you remember when John Prescott or something said, oh, you must turn your phones off at night? Was it Gordon Brown? One or the other. It's because apparently that was a green argument that by leaving your phone on, you were ruining the planet.
You save more charge and then you don't have to charge it up after. But then the argument would be, okay, if you want to get to a renewables grid, it doesn't really matter how much power you're using at the moment. If we're going to get to renewables, we've got 2050. The electricity doesn't matter all that much, and it's the same electricity companies that are investing in renewables. So shouldn't we be paying them to invest?
Can we have Christmas lights,
Dawn? China? No, we can't.
Exactly.
What?
What?
Can we have Christmas lights?
You're going to come and take my Christmas lights away?
No, you can't have your fairy lights. I'm sorry.
Why not?
Can I say fairy lights anymore? Hasn't that been banned, fairy lights? I'm sure that's been banned.
Probably.
I'm sure it's homophobic. Any case, basically, this is a cracking story. It's in the Telegraph today. I think it's in a couple of the papers as well. This is an amazing couple. They're called Helen and John Attersley. They're in their 70s, and every year they do their house up with loads and loads of gorgeous Christmas decorations, reindeer and Santas, etc.
Sorry, are we looking at the same picture?
Yeah. Stop being a snob. Oh, God, you're such a snob.
Oh, are you a proper
Really
scroungy?
snob.
What page is it on?
Well, it's on page 9 of the Telegraph today. Any case, this lovely couple...
I mean, there's nothing right. I mean, I'm all for the freedom for people to put up Christmas lights. There is nothing in the world that makes that in any shape or form tasteful.
It is quite... No, it's not that tasteful. It's about...
It's revolting. It's November.
Oh, yeah, November is a bit early, actually.
Right, okay.
December 1st, fine, I'm happy.
Oh, shut up. Any case.
Is this a tabloid news story?
Reason,
is this something that's going to appear in your paper? Tatty old story?
It's a Telegraph. Any case, the reason this lovely couple put all these lights up is because their little grandson nearly died and his life was saved by Great Ormond Street Hospital.
Right.
So, every year they raise thousands of pounds for Great Ormond Street Hospital.
That's lovely.
It's lovely. So how
By
you can
ruining
criticise
their house.
How you can criticise their lights is another thing.
It's a little bit like you can't criticise their lights or them or the NHS, can you?
You're like the Duracell bunny. Wind you up and you don't stop. And so, any case,
That's why I'm here.
They use LED light bulbs as well, so they are 10% more energy friendly. However, this is an all-party group of energy driving MPs, and they call themselves Dark Skies.
I don't have no idea.
What's that
That's
about?
really not at all for
But you know
and they
what,
have
Dawn?
said.
Go on then.
They have said, right, while we all need some festive cheer, yeah, okay, much exterior lighting is unnecessarily bright. Had it been in place in Bethlehem, the 3 wise men would never have seen the stars, let alone be guided to the baby Jesus.
Okay, so
by
I'm
them.
about to do something
What?
unheard of.
What?
Because in here it then goes on and says a Green Party spokesman has said we've got to weigh up the effect on our planet against having lots of lights above our doors. I'm going to agree with you. I don't care how tasteless this is. They're raising money. It's their choice. It's nothing to do
and
with
it's
anybody else.
lovely.
If the
It's-
neighbours like it, if they like it, then good on them. Well done. I'm with you, Dawn.
Oh my
I'm with you.
God.
It's a Christmas miracle.
I am-
It's a
It is a
miracle. That's a
Christmas
true miracle.
miracle.
It is
In
a true
November.
miracle. And plus, ignoring the fact that if baby Jesus' stable had been lit up like that, everyone would have seen it. You've seen it from space, wouldn't you? Really?
Now, just
that would
before,
have been a bad idea for Herod, though.
just before I do something else that I really want to do.
Well, the baby Jesus was self-identified as a girl, and he would have been fine.
Oh,
Jason, just before I do something that I would really like to do, is there anything that is driving you mad out of the inside of your papers?
Well, I just wanted to bring up my favourite COP26 fact, which is that the last time we did this ridiculous charade of world leaders collecting and doing all the virtue signalling, COP25, we've managed this time to have more than double the emissions from COP26.
Oh,
versus
excellent work.
COP25.
More
which paper is that in?
I think it's in one of them.
It's in one of the papers.
One of the papers.
Just very quickly, I can tell you about Great Scott, it says. £375,000 bid for Marty board. This is the hoverboard from the 1980s time travel blockbuster Back to the Future, which neither of you presumably were alive for, whereas Dawn and I were.
Shut up! You always mention my age. I mean, that is ageist.
Does it work or not?
No, of course it doesn't.
Okay, so
but,
then why
but
the
now
hell
I've
was
read
there
that story.
375,000?
That was the only interesting story that I could find in the whole of today's Daily Mirror.
It is
So
a bit.
it now means that I can remove the
It
Daily
is a
Mirror
bit.
Fantastic.
because it's a waste of time. Waste of time. Do some journalism. Do some work. Find some interesting stories. It's the only story that you can come up with. It's 375 grand for a hoverboard. Really, Dawn? And finally.
And fine, I've got several and finally.
Just one will do.
Oh, just one. Okay, my favourite and finally, then I'm going to go for this one, right? Yeah, I think this one. This is, I'm not even sure what paper it's in anymore because I printed it out, being modern. This is NHS. It's an NHS story. NHS is in crisis, evidently. I mean, no one mentions it, do they?
again,
It's the annual crisis,
no one
isn't it?
mentions it. No one's mentioned it. And it goes, Britain's cost the NHS £350,000, I'm sorry, 350 grand every year by shoving beer bottles, deodorant cans and toothbrushes up their bottoms.
Wow.
Well, I didn't realise my Saturday night habit was so expensive.
Just gonna, yeah. How did you get that accident? No. So that was, yeah.
So 350 grand. You see, this is it. When we stop the waste in this country, we will make progress.
How much does it cost to extract a beer can from someone's rectum?
How much butter have you got?
Well, 400 foreign objects are pulled out of rectums every year, by the way. I mean, who knew?
Who knew?
What a waste of a beer bottle for a start. Well, that's another way of opening it, I guess.
This isn't making it to air.
Yeah, no. And on that bombshell, we must end.
Bombshell.
On that bombshell, we must end. It's time to send her back to the asylum. Dawn Neesom, broadcaster and journalist, thank you. But also my thanks must go to Jason Reed and to Connor Tomlinson. Thank you all very much indeed for joining me. Yes, I will be back, I hope, if I'm not in the asylum, for more Between the Sheets.